Good morning, everyone. This is Wad, and today me and my group are going to talk about John Dryden. We gathered an amount of information that might be helpful, and we hope you guys could benefit from it. John Dryden was born in the 9th of August of 1631, and he was the oldest of 14 children. He was born to Erasmus Dryden and his wife Mary Pickering. And as a boy, Dryden lived in the nearby village of Titchmarsh in England. Then, in 1644, he was sent to Westminster School. In the late 20th century, a house at Westminster was founded in his name. And in 1650, Dryden went up to Trinity College, Cambridge, and after graduating, he went straight up to London and got work with the Secretary of the State, John Thurlow. On the 1st of December of 1663, Dryden married the royalist sister of Sir Robert Howard, whose name was Lady Elizabeth. They had 3 sons. So, to sum up, John Dryden is known as poet, literary critic, playwright, and translator. He died on the 1st of May of 1700. Dryden is believed to be the first person to posit that English sentences should not end in prepositions. Dryden often translated his writing into Latin to check whether his writings was concise and elegant or not, Latin being considered an elegant and long-lived language with which to compare. Then Dryden translated his writing back to English according to Latin grammar usage. As Latin does not have sentences ending in prepositions, Dryden may have applied Latin grammar to English, thus forming the rule of no sentence ending prepositions, subsequently adopted by other writers. He established the heroic couplet as a standard form of English poetry by writing successful satires, religious pieces, fables, epigrams, compliments, prologues, and plays with it. He also introduced the Alexandrine and triplet into the form in his poems, translations, and criticism, and he established a poetic diction appropriate to the heroic couplet. Now we're moving to Shuruk.
Hello girls, good morning. This is Sharuk and I hope you are doing great today. Now mentioning some outstanding pieces of Dryden's work from Epsil. To my honoured kinsman, better to hunt in fields, for health and boat, than feed a doctor, for a nauseous draught, the wise, for a cure, on exercise depend. God never made his work for man to mend. And from Alexander's fest, war he sung, is toil and trouble, honor but an empty bubble, never ending, still beginning, fighting still, and still destroying. If the word be worth thy winning, think, oh think, it worth enjoying. And from Miscellany poems, railing and praising were his usual themes, and both to show his judgment in extremes, so over-violent or over-civil, that every man with him was God or devil. And the last one from Absalom and the Towel, for who can be secure of a private right, if sovereign sway may be dissolved by might? Nor is the people's judgment always true. The most may err as grossly as the few. Now, moving to critics' opinion of Dryden's work. One of the first attacks on Dryden's reputation was by William Wordsworth, who complained that Dryden's descriptions of natural objects in his translations from Virgil were much inferior to the originals. However, several of Wordsworth's contemporaries, such as George Grab, Lord Byron, and Walter Scott, who edited Dryden's work, were still keen admirers.
Good morning guys, I'm Hadil and I'm going to be talking about John Dryden's work. Dryden was so influential in Restoration England that the period was known to many as the Age of Dryden. Dryden was the son of parliamentary supporters, but exhibited royalist sympathies early. His poem upon the death of Lord Hastings supports a royalist agenda. 3 years after graduating from Trinity College, he moved to London and wrote his heroic stanzas in 1659. After writing the poem Annus Marbles in 1667, Dryden was named Poet Laureate of England. Dryden wrote plays throughout the 1670s and was at the forefront of Restoration comedy. His best-known plays were Marriage et la Mode in 1673 and All for Love in 1678. However, his plays were never as successful as his poetry. In 1681, he wrote his most famous poem, Absalom and Achitophel, and without the salary that accompanied the title of poet, Dryden turned to translation as a source of income. He translated the satires of Juvenal in 1693, the lives of Plutarch in the same year, and the works of Virgil in 1697. Now, moving to his contribution to literary criticism. Dryden's contribution to literary criticism is immense. First, he develops the study of literature in and of itself, not obsessing over its moral and theological worth. Second, he creates a natural, simple prose style that still guides and affects modern criticism and writing in general. Third, by making use of a variety of critical perspectives from Greek to French, Dryden brings all of these critical perspectives best insight into the still infant discipline of English literary criticism. And finally, Dryden advocates for the establishing of objective principles of criticism, while moving the emphasis of criticism away from the construction of a work into its more modern emphasis on how readers and critics appreciate texts.
Hello girls, my name is Sarah Abdullah and I'm going to continue the point that Sharouk discussed. So although that Dryden has many admirers, he also had his share of critics, Mark Van Doren among them. So Van Doren complained that in translating Virgil's Aeneid, Dryden has added a fund of phrases with which he could expand any passage that seemed to hurt him. Dryden did not feel such expansion was a fault, arguing that as a Latin is a naturally concise language, it cannot be duly represented by a comparable number of words in English. So one critic said, quote, Dryden brought literary criticism out of the church and into the coffee house. And T.S. Eliot, the great 20th century poet and essayist, asserts that Dryden wrote the first serious literary criticism in the English by an English poet. Now going to the seventh point, an example of criticism. And the type of criticism here is a sociological criticism. So, in his poem, Absalom and Achitophel, it was highly affected by the society and the culture that Dryden was raised in. His poetic output reflects his shifting religious and political allegiances. Born into a middle-class family just prior to the outbreak of the English Civil War between King Charles I and the Parliament, really affected him to write one of the greatest poems that gave him the popularity that he had now. And that's it. Thank you for your attention.